Hi guys. So I have decided to, what's going on here? Here we go. I've decided to deliver what is usually a live group session called Empowered Waiting. Now, this class is relevant for you if you are a projector, if you are a generator, a mani-gem, because actually most of us have to learn how to wait. And a huge amount of human design is about learning how to wait. Wait for the outer world signals and synchronicities to show up so that you can use your inner authority, whether you're splenic or self-projected or emotional, to make the decision to go ahead with whatever the thing is that's shown up. So we could reduce a lot of frustration, bitterness, stress, restlessness in the world if we actually knew how we were designed to operate. And that is one of the beautiful things about human design. It really shows you through your strategy and your authority how you are designed to co-create. So, disclaimer, if this is a class that you would like to do, don't watch the video. Press stop and make a comment and say, I'm really interested in doing this class live, as in a group, because it's so much more fun to be able to have discussion. It's quite an interactive session. And if you do continue to watch, be prepared to go and get a pen, go and get a journal, and be prepared to be interactively encouraged to answer the questions and work with the tasks that I've set. Bear with me. So, empowered waiting. What does empowered waiting mean for me? So I would like you to write down the question, what does it look like when I am waiting in an empowered way? And answer the questions using the 3 sentence stems. Empowered waiting means, empowered waiting looks like, I've learned that empowered waiting is. What I would suggest that you do is pause this video now and answer the questions. I'd love it if you dropped your responses in the comments, and therefore we can have a discussion about it there, because this is not live. Okay, so hopefully you would have paused the video. You would have given yourself time to answer the questions. I would love to know what came up. And I want to discuss and share with you what empowered waiting is for me, and hopefully give you some feedback or some guidance to be able to really transform your relationship to waiting to having much more fun by creating in the way that you were designed. So I'd be interested, again, unfortunately we're not together, but how many of your responses were about doing? So maybe you were, empowered waiting was, I was studying more, I was, I don't know, I was doing more study, I was creating my project, I was networking, I was writing content on social media, I was, doing all these things. How much of the responses were about doing? For what I've discovered is empowered waiting is really about who are we being. And what I mean by that, who am I being? I mean, this is about deeply surrendering and finding yourself in a place where you can be tuned into the quantum field, where you can be relaxed on a somatic level, where your nervous system is actually relaxed and you're at ease on an internal level. You actually take time to rest where you're not doing anything, and rest where you are doing, but you're at ease in the process of what you're creating. So who am I being while I am waiting? I am being excited and eager. I am anticipating what is to come. I am engrossed and, in full pleasure of the creation I'm creating. I am joyful. I am playful. The art of living. So, how did I become a human design coach and a projector embodiment coach? That was the first focus that I had. Being in a projector, it made sense to me to really help other projectors to really decondition. And I kind of ended up in that field because I'd become a healer and I was developing my own programs online. And a lot of the information that I was studying and the coaches I was working with were giving me strategies that weren't aligned for me. And I knew there was something not correct. There was something not right about going out, creating loads of content, ringing people, pushing myself, doing cold DMs, like all these things, forcing myself on people actually wasn't having any positive impact for me. Trying to be seen, trying to be visible in a very generator way was not aligned. Plus, I'd already had a projector awakening or a Kundalini awakening where I had already spent months living in a jungle in my own auric field and really slowing down. So let's have a look at who I was and who I was being. So in 2018, I was a deputy head of a school. I was a consultant leading a school, responsible for implementing all of the curriculum, training staff, developing culture. But interestingly, just like most projectors who were living the unaligned projector life, I was a super slave. I was amplifying all of the generator and the sacral energy, and I was doing more work than anybody else. Now, granted, I loved the work, but I was, if you can see, I was absolutely exhausted. And I wasn't in relationship to work in the right way. So for us as projectors, we really want to be in a guiding role. That means people come to us to ask questions, where we pose questions, where we advise, where we have enough substantial, comprehensive mastery of a set of knowledge that we are able to give guidance. And that doesn't mean implementing the guidance. So what was going on here was I was actually the consultant, the expert, the guide to how to move from a requires improvement Ofsted report to getting a good. And which is what I actually achieved. However, I was also doing all of the work as well. So without having a strong team under me to be able to be the orchestrator, to be the person managing the energy, guiding, you do this, you do that, let's make it all work, and having the vision, I was actually drained and drained and drained because I was doing all the work as well. So I had a dark night of the soul, and my soul said no, and I actually could not physically do anymore. So I flew to Thailand. I began to have energy work, a lot of shadow work, a lot of healing, and spent about a year in solitude, traveling the world, experiencing miracles, giving away all my possessions, having no cash and no knowing, but just following my intuition, which I later found was very directly aligned with my design because I only have the 5710 channel defined. So we fast forward. So basically, during that period, up until now, I was learning how to live as a projector. So May 2022, I'm fresh, I'm at ease, life is good, I'm in my projector alignment. So I want you to look at the G center. The G center, and remember, we all have all of the chart. So the G center has all of these gates, and all of them are all of them play a role in our lives. So part of who am I being is being in your purpose, being creative, having your creative contribution, having a strong sense of who you are and creating. And by the way, guys, I use my example as projector, but this is really the same for generators and manifesting generators and everybody else too. So creative contribution, I am creating. Forgiveness, huge amounts of deconditioning. Anytime things aren't flowing for you in life and you're not receiving things in flow, it's about releasing resentment, past pains, memories, anything, any wounding, and anything that you're holding on to is baggage that actually blocks the flow of life. So, what you want to do, you want to rewrite your own story. You really want to spend a lot of time releasing the old, letting go, clearing from your energy field, and rewriting the story of who you are. So, self concept work is hugely important. Spirit. So 25 is really about finding a connection to spirit. Can I connect with divinity? Can I connect with source? Can I connect with my higher being? Do I meditate? Do I journal? Do I find a way of building silence into my life so that I can get or receive the exact guidance that's in alignment for me? So what I want you to understand about the magnetic monopole is that it's always attracting. So what we are attracting into our lives is dependent on how much we are in the highest expression of these gates. So if you are somebody who is still experiencing memories or conditioning, subconscious memories around not being seen, not being loved, not being recognized, or holding on to childhood wounding, you're going to keep attracting those situations into your life until you can evolve them and unwind and shift. Vitality. So we need to look after our bodies. Our bodies is the vehicle and the vessel for which spirit can guide us. When you are in tune with your body, you're able to connect with your inner authority, you're able to connect with your intuition. And when this is correct, it means you're moving through life in a way that you're able to connect with the right opportunities, right people, right places, right time. And what happens is when you're in alignment with all of these gates here, waiting is actually it's kind of collapsed. Timelines get collapsed. So you can actually collapse timelines by doing the inner work. So support, I allow and I'm grateful. So how many of you are unable to receive? The biggest lesson I had with this was when I was in Costa Rica. I stopped the work in December. January, February, I was in Thailand. I began listening to Abraham Hicks and I began tuning into gratitude a lot more. I was doing it at work, but now it was like, okay, I can co-create my reality. My consciousness had shifted and expanded to understanding that I was responsible for my life. Everything that I was experiencing in life, I was responsible for co-creating. So if you really truly believe that you have creative consciousness, it means that you have to start really working with your energy field, really clearing your chakras, really doing your shadow work. So what I found on my journey was I had a very strong aversion to being dependent on others. And I had to surrender that through having given all my stuff away and not having any money and following synchronicities. I ended up arrived in Malaysia with £300 and I was intuitively guided to a house. It was a beautiful house and I ended up staying there. And when it was getting close to the time that would have to figure out what to do. But I always had my guidance. So I was building a very strong sense of trust because I was following my intuition. I was surrendered to my life process and I was allowing life to support me. And because I built that, what I found then was that I was learning to dissolve all of these beliefs that no longer served me or concepts of the world that were no longer were not relevant to me, so that I could receive, and so that I could begin to align with the trajectory of my higher service path. And when we actually surrender our will to thy will and surrender to our dharma, what happens is the universe conspires to support you. So it is a combination of connecting with your soul, tuning into your own inner being, and allowing yourself to surrender to the path that is yours to live and to create. So compassion, I share. Self-love, big for me because it's one of my definition channels, and it's also my Mercury gate, which is what I'm here to communicate, what I'm here to teach. And our Mercury gate is really about our mission, the mission of our souls. So it's going to be wherever your Mercury is on your conscious Mercury, your personality side, it's going to give you a lot of clues about the work that you need to do to live in your highest expression. And the more you're living in your highest expression, the more you're living a values-led life, the more you're living in integrity to yourself, the more, again, things flow, the more energy is flowing, so that everything flows more easily. And 7, I decide, I choose. So you're not a victim to life. You're not defined by your life experiences. You have the opportunity to observe the lessons and evolve to co-create what you want by choosing different thoughts, different beliefs, developing a different self-concept, releasing and healing the past, and doing all of the integration work. So projector magic, but you could equally change this to generator magic, happens when we align our energy, live as our unique selves, and we flow. This is me in Barbados. That was another crazy trip where, again, things were just flowing for me. I was in alignment. I was in my passion work. A friend of mine reached out and said, hey, do you want to come on a yacht to travel across the Atlantic? It was like a very high class yacht. It was called the Windstar. Ended up flying, to Barbados, traveling with, beautiful service and experiencing magic, because miracles, synchronicities, opportunities flow to us when we are in alignment. So what I learned through my spontaneous projector awakening was some paradigm shifts. So this is where it's really much better if we are, again, together in this class. But I want to introduce you to something that I use as an energy worker, and it's something that I teach clients so that they can actually tune into their own subconscious without needing anyone. It's the body as the sway test, so the body as the pendulum. If you are familiar with using a pendulum, you can use that too. So what you do, you need to stand up and you need to get grounded. So again, little things can affect this. Things like being drunk, so don't drink if you're doing this with alcohol, if you haven't had a shower, if you're tired, like maybe do it at a time when you're fresh. But basically you stand up, close your eyes, and you take some deep breaths in, go down into your belly. So you want to expand your energy, open up your energy field. Take some deep breaths into your belly. And you want to, what happens is when you ask yourself a question that is true, and when I say true, I mean true according to the universe, as in absolute. There's no, it's true according to love. You will move forward. Most people will move forward. So the way that you can create a baseline for yourself is to stand up on your side like this and say, love. Okay, so notice my body just swayed forward. You don't have to force it, you don't have to do anything. So the next thing so get a baseline and get into the practice of moving. Ask yourself, subconscious mind, love. Love is truth, love will move forward. If you say subconscious mind war, because that's rooted in hate, you'll sway backwards. Again, there's nuance to this. So again, if you're not getting, sometimes you have to find out which your way is, but most people are moving forward. So once you've done that and you actually are familiar with not forcing, but you just stay still, you say the thing and you wait slightly and you allow yourself to move, you can then give yourself a baseline test. So you could say, subconscious mind, my name is, and your name. Subconscious mind, I am X years old. And then you can give some false words to your subconscious. So basically what you're doing is you're finding your ability to connect with the subconscious mind. So what happens after you have your baseline is that we get to actually really identify your hidden resistance, belief, memory, or block. By the way, this is the work that I do in the EASE system, the energetic alignment system experience, that I work with helping people to decondition. It's a healing modality I've created, and I'm also available and open for teaching one-to-one or in classes. So again, if that's something you're interested in, drop it in the comments. So what we're going to do is I want you to, if you are struggling right now with waiting and feeling restless, feeling frustrated, feeling bitter, feeling like I can't wait and nothing's happening in my life, everything's moving too slowly, then I want you to tune into these questions. So on a scale of 1 to 10, grade your level of agreement with the statement. So 1 being the least, I don't believe this at all, and 10 being the most, I really believe this. So I'm going to read out the question. So what you need to be doing is standing. You want to be grounded by now, and you're going to be ready to tune in. Alternatively, you can pause the video and you can ask this to yourself. I trust my intuition to guide me to the next invitation. If you need to ask yourself a few more times. Second question, do I believe the outer world reflects my inner world? Because if you don't believe, or if you don't have this perception that the outer world is a mirror to your internal level state of being, your beliefs, your past memories or energies that you're holding on to, that is actually creating the external reality that you're experiencing, you're not going to be able to make the shifts. You're not going to be able to change because you're not going to be taking full responsibility or believing that you're consciously creating based on the energy system. What's in your mental body, what's in your emotional body, what's in your subtle body. Do I believe I create my own reality? Again, even if you consciously say I do, but your subconscious doesn't, then you've got an internal conflict. And this is what the work is all about. This is how we collapse time and increase and improve the speed at which you can co-create your external. So I came up with 12 spiritual concepts that along this journey of the last 6 years, I developed what I believe to be the foundations of uh, empowered waiting. So, number one is faith, the ability to believe, intuit, and perceive. So, when we don't have an outer world example or evidence, we need to be tuned into that faith. We need to be tuned into faith that we are receiving, or it's on the way, or that we have the courage, conviction, and commitment to be able to follow through with something and bring an inspiration into fruition. We have to have faith that we are fully supported, that then we're going to know the very next step. The affirmation that you can use is faith blesses my day and paves my way. The second thing that is vitally important if you really want to develop your co-creative abilities and be able to be effective at using your head center and the gates of the head center in the way that they were designed to be used as an interface with the quantum field, you've got to be able to connect with imagination. If you are in anxiety, if you're in fear, it's because you're creating your current reality based on the past, based on experiences from the past, based on memories. So I think I made a mistake actually with, let me go back. I have to change that, sorry. So imagination, basically. I can conceive something that doesn't exist. It's along those lines. I can conceive of something that doesn't yet exist so that I can create something new. And so by now, I think you've probably inferred that empowered waiting has nothing to do with waiting and everything to do with creating. Empowered waiting is mastery of your co-creative faculty. So the virtues or the qualities that we need to develop as in who we are being is courage, acceptance of what is and desiring more, and a deep inner sense of trust. Learning to use the language of the universe, learning to connect with synchronicity, learning to follow the signs and the omens. So courage, the questions you really want to ask, and because human design is all about timing, and the thing about deconditioning and really living your design and integrating design as your to live it is you do have an internal sense of timing. You begin to get very adept at knowing when to take action, when to hold back, when to create, when to relax, and it's all in your chart. So by aligning with your design, you start to live in this flow, in this dance of life. So the question really is, do I have the courage to wait for right timing? Do I have the courage to live in a way that feels radically right for me? Do I have the courage that I will know what I need to know when I need to know it? But so many people are frustrated, bitter, anxious, all the things because they have not developed that internal sense of rhythm and connection with their inner being, silence to receive, connection and that support with source. So if you go back to all of those gates from your magnetic monopole, all of them need to be balanced, and you have to have a sense of them so that you can be in alignment. Second quality is acceptance. Can I accept what is right now and use this as information? Going back to the paradigm shift of my outer world reflects my inner world. What would I need to believe for this to be my reality? What do I need to change within myself in order for me to create something different? Now, within that, we've got all these. This is where the ego work comes in, because until we actually get still and develop a witness mind, we are going to have multiple personalities running the show. We've got the inner child, we've got the saboteur, we've got the prostitute. We've got all of these different sub personalities that are like little shadow aspects that, until we actually silence and slow down and start to begin to observe and witness the mind in action, the protector, the pleaser, yeah, until we start to address and consciously work with these aspects and to silence them down, or to at least observe them, and with a lot of distance to be able to stop being driven by them, which is a lot of the work of deconditioning and a lot of the work that we do in the HD Business Blueprint. And it doesn't matter if you're a business owner or if you just want to align with your purpose. The idea of the HD Business Blueprint is a 12-week course where we go through each of the core aspects of your chart so that you can start deeply knowing yourself and deeply coming into alignment and deeply healing, integrating, transforming into your true self. If you want to do this as one-to-one work, reach out. We have a conversation about that. 4 months is usually around 4,444. There's payment plans available. If you want to have a human design reading, they're £333. But really, the real work is when we go in depth and you work one-on-one, or we work in a group to really start to integrate and do the unwinding. So acceptance. Can I accept what actions need to be taken now in order to align with a different version of myself? Because as we are deconditioning, we are reconditioning. We are creating that new narrative, that new story. We are beginning to understand that our perception of external reality is, what are we making it mean? It's the meanings that we are giving to situations that are creating what we are experiencing. So as we shift our meanings, our reality changes. As we develop a different self-concept, our reality changes, our identity changes. Finally, we are looking at the quality of trust. How deeply can I trust myself, life to support me? Do I trust myself to follow my soul's path? And I promise you, as somebody who was a teacher, had a career, had my house, had everything, I was in security, I had to make that leap when my soul gave me that time, that signal. And I was in Costa Rica. I'd only got there, it was meant to be there for like 11 days. On the 9th day, I had a dream. And I knew that I had to let go of everything and trust that if I jumped, I wouldn't land in concrete, but in a bed of feathers. Now, yes, I'm splenic. I don't advise anyone who's emotionally defined to just do something like that unless you've had a lot of time to already mull it over and that clarity emerges. But trust. So these are the keys of really empowered waiting. So the mindset alchemy method, which is actually now called ease, it's about developing practice, and it's about developing a commitment and devotion to your inner development, your self-inquiry, your spiritual self. Okay. Meditation. So it's mastery, because because ultimately what human design is taking a mastery approach to life. So meditation, asking questions, setting intentions, telling the truth. Got to get really real and raw with yourself. Where am I in shadow? Where am I letting my inner child run the show? Where am I not taking responsibility? Where am I giving my power away? Emotional responses, use this intelligence. Respond, not react. What am I saying yes to? And what is my holy no? So again, we have to decondition all of that people pleasing, all of that codependency, all of that I'm selfish if I put myself first. All these things take time, and this is part of the process. So I'm going to ask you to engage with an experiment, because this is really a really beautiful. Once you understand this and once you start engaging with this, you're going to be collapsing time, and you're not going to feel restless. Time's not going to be stagnant, because you're going to be more in your power. So using the head center gates as they were designed to be used. When we stay in a place of connection and we keep our channels of creativity open, which is why meditation is quite important, because the more you can slow the mind and still the mind, the more you start to work with your third eye and activate your crown chakra, so that you can actually receive information. If you don't cultivate space and time to be silent and to receive, you're not going to be able to hear and listen to what you need to be doing. And that's when you're going to feel anxious, because you're not in connection. When we stay in a place of connection and we keep our channels of creativity open, we have the ability to consciously access the answers to our challenges. So the head center, the center for ideas and inspirations, and the gates are associated with the pineal gland, the third eye, 64, 61, and 63. Now, what we have in human design and gene keys is the low expression, the shadow. So where we're in the low expression, it means often we are in doubt with 63. We're asking why, and we're very anxious and stuck in spinning our wheels. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? We're in the low expression of that energy. But what we can do when we notice and we develop that observer and witness, we can move into the high expression of the archetype. So what we want to be doing is using the head center as it was designed to be used, as by asking higher order questions to interface with the quantum field. Why is this happening in the context of my life being a soul curriculum? So we move out of why me, and we move into what is this teaching me? What am I learning? Why is this happening right now? So for example, if I'm trying to launch something and I'm not getting traction, I am not going to be like, why is this happening? Why is it not working? What I'm going to be asking is, why why do I why am I experiencing, like, okay, think of a better question. Why am I being asked to wait right now? Why am I in this position right now? What is this teaching me? So it's a slightly different question. The head center is a pressure center. So if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling like life is slow and you're feeling really frustrated or bitter or stressed out or whatever about waiting, you know that it's the pressure of the mind. And when they open mic, like, what, I need an answer now, I need to know what to do. And remember, there is so much conditioning around this word certainty, that when we're not certain, you can feel very anxious. But when you actually surrender to uncertainty and you take the time to surrender and wait for clarity, wait for answers to emerge, and the more you actually live in this energy, the easier life is. So when I get an inspiration to create something, I might start creating it because I'm excited. And then suddenly, like, without having to force myself to go and look for information about it, the information starts to flow to me. The right article, the right book at the page, somebody sends me something, and it all relates to what I'm doing. That's the highest expression of that energy. So when you're not under pressure, when you can release and when you can observe yourself and catch yourself in the pressure of it, and turn it into actually just being and trusting the flow, you can start to receive in the way that you were designed. So 64 is under pressure to understand. It gets a lot of downloads, a lot of abstract ideas. And when we're not in alignment with, so you may have a dream or you might get a symbol or an image and you want to know how do I do this? Like, what's the next step? Why do I need? So it's under the pressure to understand. But when you can actually receive something and go, okay, I'll know what I need to know when I need to know it, then you're in the highest expression and the things will start to come. 61 is under a pressure to know why. And 63 is under the pressure to trust because it's the gate of doubt. And the point of this gate is not to turn doubt inwards. It's not to start turning it in on yourself. It's about outer authority. It's about being skeptical, suspicious, critical thinking of external teachers, realities, concepts, ideas. But the moment you start doubting yourself, and we all have to decondition that gate, notice when you start turning into doubt, it's because that gate is active and it's in its lowest expression. When the head center is under pressure, it is asking, do I have the courage to wait for right timing? Can I trust the need to know? The pressure to know why. At the core of any bitterness, frustration, fear, doubt, with waiting for right timing, right people, right places, is not being at peace with not knowing. And this is where prayers come in. This is where Divine Creator changed me into a woman who can know without a shadow of a doubt that you are guiding me to have clear vision and inspired action. I surrender now and give this burden of doubt to you. And you're working with the God within, you're working with the higher consciousness in an effective way as a co-creator would, because you're moving into a different consciousness, a different way of operating. Your mind is no longer the master. It's now a servant to your soul and the way we were designed to create. So the question for your soul inquiry is, what needs to be healed, released, aligned, and brought to my awareness for me to trust what I know and be at peace with what I don't? When we are moving into gate 64, it's under the pressure to know how. So it's the pressure to manifest. How do I bring my inspiration into form? How do I make this big idea, this big download that I've just received happen? How do I achieve this big vision that I've got and I don't know what the next step is? So when you're under pressure and you're asking those, how am I going to make money tomorrow? How am I going to find a new house? We're in the low expression. We're not using the mind gates as they were designed to be used. But when we're asking, how could this happen? And you're in the higher order thinking skills and you're actually using the questions to calibrate the heart center and turn into possibility. We move into possibility thinking. How could I receive this new house? Well, I could receive an invite out of the blue. I could be invited to work at a new job that gives me a house. I could receive an inheritance. So you start playing with how imagining, so we bring back the imagination, because the questions now are questions about how it could be. And that when you're not in fear and you are now playing with possibilities, you're now actually the emotional frequency that is created by doing that starts to calibrate to that magnetic monopole, which we spoke about at the start, which is only here to magnetize. It's not here to well, forget what it's not here for. The point is, your emotional frequency is co-creating your reality. So if you are in doubt, frustration, fear, I don't know, stress, nervous system tense. You're not going to be, your magnetic monopole is going to be sending out that frequency and co-creating more and more and more of the same thing, which is why understanding yourself as creator and using the gates as an interface with the quantum field by asking possibility questions is how you're going to collapse time and speed up the space that it takes to wait. So the mind isn't here to figure out the answers. When you shift from that to how am I going to do this? How do I do that? Well, you actually use the mind and to stimulate our imagination, to stay in a place of curiosity, stay open to possibility, and stay open to receiving. Which is again why balancing all of those gates of vitality so that you can receive the intuitive hits, being in trust with the state of allowing, gate 2, gate 13, rewriting my story, my narrative, who am I being, what is my identity. I am someone who receives clients in an instant. I am someone where money just comes instantly. I have chosen the perceptions that I choose to operate my reality from. I don't buy into societal beliefs, because the quicker you clear from your root chakra perceptions of what life is and replace them with your own, the quicker that you can start operating on a different frequency, on a different way of being. So the experiment is ask a question, wait, calibrate. That means using possibility questions to attune to the frequency and the emotional frequency of what could possibly happen, and detach from how you think it should be, and see what shows up. And when you wait, and then when you create in this way, you become not frustrated with the waiting, but you now become an empowered co-creator. So this is why I say it's not empowered waiting, it's empowered creating. I'll give you a story about this as well. Back in 2021, I was getting low. I got invited to study human design, and I actually resisted for a long time because it was a huge body of work to study, and I felt like my gate 44 was holding on to resisting moving forward, because I was like, I've become a master. I had a career. I spent so much developing the knowledge to be able to serve at a very high level as my one line. I was like having to start again from the very bottom. And I really didn't want to do that. So I was held back a lot of time by doing that. But eventually the dreams got louder. I was dreaming of pentas and fractals, and it just kept getting louder and louder within my own soul, till I actually surrendered and said, right, okay, I will study human design. I made a declaration, and boom, next few days, all the information, the money for the training, the information I needed began to flow into me. But what was interesting, I then got an inspiration, so I got an inspired idea. And remember, my conscious sun is gate 54. So it's all about nurturing the inspiration until it's time to act. So I got this idea that I wanted to help projectors with their marketing, because it had already been 2021, it had already been 2020, trying all these course from scratch and various other things that just wasn't working. And I was an educator in English language and copywriting content, all these things, writing. These are things that I'd been teaching for years anyway. And I realized I got the idea to help projectors in particular. And then so that was the August. So what did I do? I began to study. I began to prepare by preparing my knowledge foundation, because on that back of that inspired idea, and in the December, I don't know if it was November or December, I think it was December, a projector healer had approached me and invited me to help her with her finding her niche and clarifying her message. So you see, with August, November, December, 2 months, 8 weeks, me getting an inspired idea, taking the action. So the doing part was responding to the idea and preparing myself for when that invitation came in. And that's what showed up. Now you can, when something showed, and my authority said yes. Now, when something shows up, you don't necessarily have to take it. If it's not what you desire or prefer, you can actually say, oh, that's not quite right. And you say, and if your inner authority doesn't give you the yes, then you don't do it and you wait for something else. You tune your emotional frequency. So this particular activity here, I got from Karen Curry Parker, who is one of my teachers, and she gets people to ask the question, how do we feed the people of the world? So you can get your journal and you pose that question. And instead of how are we going to do it, trying to figure it out, tune into your imagination, tune into the possibilities. How do we feed the people of the world? Maybe we could create more permaculture. Maybe we could create more initiatives that people could choose to go and build their own land. Like maybe we could, whatever it happens to be, but you're not doing it from a place of figuring it out. You're doing it from a place of possibility and tuning into the potentials. And as you tune into that and see what is possible in your imagination, whether it's visualization, through asking those questions, you're calibrating the frequency, your emotional frequency to your magnetic monopole, which then stimulates vibration, frequency, and the inspired ideas and opportunities start to arise. Okay, so I would love to know how you got on with this. I'd love you to experiment with it and come back and share your feedback. Um, I will say as well, I had a session yesterday and with a client, and a few weeks ago, I'd said to her to tune into exactly what I'm teaching you, basically, co-creating, so visualizing, using what I call energetic projections and tuning into possibility. 80% energy, 20% aligned action. She wasn't in that week. So she said to me yesterday, I was doing it for 10-second blocks. Oh, so only 3 times she'd done it. And suddenly going from like struggle world of trying to force things and take masculine action, her email was filled with clients the following week. So she now has a full bookings. And that was because she actually stepped back and stopped the forcing energy and tuned into trust, tuned into support, tuned into using the head center as it was designed to be used. And what happened was, as she calibrated the emotional frequency, she attracted the opportunities, the invitations. Thank you so much. And if you want to have a reading, £333, you can book with me directly, or you can find me on Facebook or Instagram, the HD Business Blueprint. If you want to do a one-to-one 4-month deconditioning program and really deeply starting to live into your design, that's 4,444. And again, reach out either here in the comments, I'll get back to you, or in my Instagram or Facebook. I have a Know Your Ideal Client Masterclass happening next week. That's £222. So if you really are interested in learning about who your fractal clients are and your true soulmate clients, and how to use that information to connect and create content marketing materials and copy that resonates with those people, again, reach out, make a little note in the comment, and yeah, look out for the HD Business Blueprint course coming in January. Bye.